Welcome. Today I have with me Chatira, who's going to teach you and me some chemistry.
Hello Mahesh.
Hello.
We'll be dealing with surface chemistry.
Okay.
So do you have any idea about what surface chemistry is?
Just looking at the topic, I can say it has something to do with surface and something to do with chemistry. So chemistry at surface?
Yes. So we can say that surface chemistry is basically chemistry
That happens at the surface.
on surface of something, right? It can be anything.
Okay.
So usually we hear that in rainy season most of the iron substances get rusted.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think we can relate that rusting of iron to surface chemistry?
Let's see.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
If we consider an iron rod, let us think that this is an iron rod.
Mm.
And usually we can see that one layer deposits on the surface of iron.
Mm-hmm.
If we just remove that, inner surface will be still iron.
Correct.
It won't affect that.
Mm-hmm.
So only the particles will be deposited on the surface. That's what we call as rust.
Okay. And you're saying that is a surface phenomena, right?
Yes.
That's correct. Okay. So this is surface chemistry.
So this is surface chemistry because the reaction has taken place only on the surface and not has taken place inside the substance.
Alright, okay.
So now this rust is nothing but, in chemical terms, we call this as hydrated ferric oxide.
That's the
That's
chemical
the chemical
name
name for rust.
Okay. Don't you want to write a chemical formula there? I'm pretty sure our viewers would want to know the chemical formula.
Okay, it is Fe2O3 3H2O.
This is the hydrated part, right?
This is hydrated part and this is
That's
ferric
the ferric
oxide.
oxide. Okay.
So, in surface chemistry, we have names for rust as well as iron rod.
Okay.
So, some particles which is sitting on the surface of anything is called adsorbate.
Adsorbate. Okay.
And the substance on which the particle sits on, it is called adsorbent.
Okay.
So in this, rust becomes adsorbate because it is sitting on the substance, and iron rod becomes adsorbent because the rust sits on the iron rod.
Okay.
So we can give one more example of duster and chalk.
Okay.
We usually see in our schools or colleges that every time we write something and we keep dusting the board.
Correct.
And while dusting, where do you think the particles will be?
The
So
chalk particles, right?
Yes. If I consider this as a duster, and after dusting, the particles, do you see that it gets accumulated on the dust?
Yes,
on
very
the duster?
much. Not only on the duster, also on me and my pants.
So this is a duster.
Oh, that's a surface phenomena as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And these are the particles.
Chalk particles.
Yes. So now can you tell me which is adsorbate and which is adsorbent?
Comparing with this, just like how rust was the adsorbate here, I think the chalk particles are the adsorbate here.
Correct. So these are adsorbate.
And the surface of the duster becomes the adsorbent.
Very good. This is adsorbent.
Yay. Okay.
So we have a technical term for this, that is adsorption.
So this phenomenon is what we call as adsorption, right?
Yes. So now what adsorption is? We can see some particles are getting accumulated on the surface of a solid substance or any substance for that matter. That is called adsorption. So adsorption is
phenomena where some particles which we call as adsorbate sit on some surface which we call as adsorbent.
correct. So the particles sits on something.
Okay, that's nice. It's easy to understand.
So what are particles here?
Adsorbate.
Yes. Particles are adsorbate.
I'm getting this.
And that's something I can call now that as a substance.
Okay.
And that is now
Adsorbent.
adsorbent. So you might have heard sometimes we also make use of the term absorption.
Oh yeah.
So what do you think is the difference between absorption and adsorption?
There's a D here, there's a B there.
Okay, that's not the only difference. So if I consider a bowl, and inside this bowl let me take some water.
H2O.
Yes. Very good, you're learning something. So now if I take a sponge, okay, let us consider this to be a sponge, or we can also take tissue paper.
Okay.
What happens if I dip this sponge in water?
The sponge gets all soaked up and wet and it absorbs water. Oh, that's absorption, right? It
Yes.
absorbs water.
So
Correct.
you can see that the water particles now move into the sponge.
Correct.
That means if this is a sponge now, the water particles are present inside this. Do you see water particles only at the surface
No.
as that of this?
No.
No. It is moving into the bulk.
Correct.
Therefore now this is called,
This is the bulk phenomena.
this is the bulk phenomenon.
Ooh, so surface chemistry. Oh yeah, I get it now. Adsorption is the surface phenomena and absorption is the bulk phenomena.
Yes.
That's the major difference.
That's the
right?
major difference between absorption and adsorption. So I can say now the particles,
They move into the substance, right?
yes, move into the substance.
I think that's the key point. It sits on something here, but this moves into it.
Yes. Okay, now I'll give one more example. You have to tell me whether it is absorption or adsorption.
Okay.
So let me consider here, let me consider a beaker.
Okay.
Okay?
That's a test tube.
Okay, that's a test tube. So let me take ink inside this, blue ink.
Okay.
Okay? Now can you tell me what are the components present in ink?
There's water
Yes,
and there are those ink particles.
that is nothing but dye, isn't it?
The one that gives it color,
Color. Okay. Now I have a chalk with me. Let's consider this to be a chalk.
right? A pink chalk.
No, it's a white chalk. But I don't have white color pen. So now this is a pink, white chalk. And now I'll take this chalk and dip inside the ink. What do you think will be the reaction?
The chalk gets wet, and in fact I've done that, and I used to do that before, and I used to see that the whole chalk becomes blue.
Yes. So if I just break it off or cut it off, what can I see inside?
You mean inside the chalk?
Yes. Whether you can see the same blue color or whether it remains white.
I don't know, I've not done that.
Okay. So what happens when you're dipping this chalk into the ink is the particles of the ink, that is dye, it gets settled on the chalk like this.
Okay.
And whereas water particle, they move into the solution.
Into the chalk.
Into this chalk.
Okay.
So what do you think is happening here?
So I see adsorption.
Yes?
Because the ink particles are the adsorbate.
Correct.
And the chalk piece acts like the adsorbent.
Correct.
But since the water particles are moving inside, I also see a bulk phenomena going on, so there's an absorption as well.
Yes, that means in this particular experiment, you can see both adsorption as well as absorption
Yes,
happening.
correct.
So this is called sorption.
Desorption is basically absorption and adsorption together.
Yes. So it is a mixture of, or the process or phenomenon where adsorption and absorption taking place simultaneously.
Okay.
Now, even in schools or colleges, after dusting the chalk from the board, we keep dusting it, right? Or the particles will be so much that we can't even erase the board later on. So what do we do?
You just take that duster and bang it to the wall.
Yes.
And I see all these chalk particles are flying off.
Correct. So similarly, in chemistry, after some time, whatever particles we take or the substance we take, after it gets settled on top, later on we have to remove that. So that process of removal of substance is called desorption. So what is desorption? Now whatever substance has got accumulated in this or on this, so we can remove it.
Okay.
So the process of...
It's just the reverse process of adsorption, right?
Yes.
So you just remove particles.
But can you tell me whether we can remove this?
No, you can't. You can. You have to
squeeze it. But can you remove from the surface?
No.
No, it becomes difficult. So removal of
Particles from the surface.
adsorbate. Now we know the definition. What adsorbate is.
Correct.
So removal of adsorbate
From the adsorbent. From the surface of the adsorbent.
Yes, adsorbent. This is called desorption. So in this we have learned about what absorption is. So absorption, the particles move into the substance. And we also learned what adsorption is. Here the particles sits on something. Then we got to know what sorption is. That is
both combined.
Combination of both. That is, it is taking place simultaneously. And also we got to know what is desorption. That is removal of adsorbate from adsorbent.
Yes, so I feel like I've learned something, but why does adsorption take place?
This I'll be explaining you next time.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Chatira, for teaching me. I feel like I've learned some chemistry. I hope you have learned some chemistry as well. So we will see you next time.
Time.
Please subscribe.